Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, says Democrats should ignore the recent ruling of the Senate parliamentarian and is vowing to force the Senate to vote this week on an amendment to set the federal minimum wage at $15 an hour. Sanders on Monday declared he would not back down on his signature wage initiative after Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough, how you pronounce this lady's name, ruled last week that a provision setting the federal minimum wage at $15 an hour would not be eligible under special budget rules Democrats are using to avoid a filibuster while passing their COVID relief bill. My personal view is that the idea that we have a Senate staffer, a high ranking staffer, deciding whether 30 million Americans get a pay raise or not is nonsensical. We have got to make that decision, not a staffer who's unelected. So my view is that we should ignore the ruling, the decision of the parliamentarian, Sanders told reporters. Sanders added, given the enormous crises facing the country and the desperation of working families, we have got to, as soon as possible, end the filibuster. We cannot have a minority of members define what the American people want. Sanders said he will force a vote on an amendment raising the federal minimum wage this week. To the best of my knowledge, there will be a vote on the minimum wage, and we'll see what happens, he said. I intend to offer the bill that will raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and we'll see how the votes go. If we fail in this legislation, I'll be back, he warned. We are going to keep going. We are going to raise this minimum wage very shortly to $15 an hour, he said. Senator Elizabeth Warren, that snake, another leading Senate progressive on Monday, said she favors a vote to overrule the parliamentarian. I agree, she said. So, on Twitter, there are a lot of people who are posting videos and tweets of our great president and vice president, Harrison Biden, saying they support raising the minimum wage. Um, Yet also pointing out that they don't really seem to be doing anything behind the scenes to actually cause that to come into effect. And the parliamentarian, Sanders is correct, is an unelected person, should not be having any say over what the rules are for raising wages. But I genuinely believe, because of how feckless the Democrats are, it could be a homeless person who says, who comes in this on the Senate floor and says, you cannot raise the minimum wage according to these rules, and they would follow that person. Because I said this when we were having the Georgia Senate runoffs, that I didn't believe the Democrats deserved to have the majority of the seats in the Senate, or to have full control of Congress, because they do the same thing every time. If they have either the presidency and one chamber or just one chamber, like under Trump. Oh, we can't pass anything because the Republicans are blocking us. And then when they get control, certain members like Manchin, like Sinema, decide to obfuscate and block them from doing things. Remember when they ran in Georgia, we're going to pass $2,000 stimulus checks. You better vote for us if you want your $2,000 stimulus check. Literally less than a week after Ossoff and Warnock won, what did Manchin say? I don't support $2,000 stimulus checks. And then he also came out against raising the minimum wage, something that the president and vice president of his respective party ran on and supported during their campaigns. And it just becomes theatrics. I think Sanders does want to raise it. I have no reason to believe he doesn't. He's been very consistent about supporting it. But he endorsed a garbage politician for president. I've said that about Biden before. And if he doesn't get him to say, use your power as the commander in chief of both the country and of the Democratic Party to tell these politicians, whether they be Manchin or Sinema, we have an agenda, you're blocking it, either vote for it or face the consequences, which should be Biden actively, shaming Manchin for doing what he's doing, which is stopping this progress. But like I said, they don't care about changing anything. They get elected, you give them all this power, and then they sit on their hands. Other than executive orders, the only thing Biden has done is bomb Syria. You don't have your $2,000 checks. You don't have your minimum wage increase. COVID's still ravaging the US. It's the same nonsense. And look, you could say, you can make a case for whether he can control the virus, but he certainly, with his party in control of everything, should have been able to pass a wage increase, one that he says he supports, and COVID relief. But he hasn't, because he's friends with Manchin and with the rest of them, and actually going and telling them, hey, it's kind of not okay to let people work for $7 an hour uh, for over 10 years, and maybe when we have record levels of unemployment, people should get some kind of financial aid. Oh no, that's we can't actually stand up for people. I have to be. I'm more concerned about my friendships with these senators that stand in the way of anything actually changing. And then you go on Twitter and you'll see Manchin and Cinema trend for a little bit. But again, all those people had Trump derangement syndrome, so I don't even take them seriously. It was funny that Bernie campaigned on Trump being the most dangerous president of his lifetime or some trash like that, but all the same problems are still here, well over a month after he left. And the current occupant of the White House isn't doing anything to change stuff. He's going to let an unelected person and a bunch of senators that aren't even in leadership positions, a handful of them rather, control his agenda. And then be surprised when the Republicans smash everybody over the course of the next 4 years. Politics really just feels like a loop-de-loop game. Like it's the same thing over and over again. It was March of last year. It's the start of the month when COVID started, and back then they weren't passing any relief hardly. And what did the Democrats say? The Republicans are getting in the way. We can't do anything. We need to win the Senate. Then you give them the Senate, and now it's a year later, and you're still barely passing anything. Minus a few bills here and there. We can't pass anything because we don't have the votes. It never stops. It is literally like a hamster on a wheel. Like the American voter is the hamster and the Democrats are the wheel. They just keep you spinning and spinning, and they raise the goalpost to keep you in the same spot of voting for them no matter what, because the boogeyman Republican is going to stop progress, except when it's the boogeyman Democrats in charge of everything and still not changing anything.